Okay. All right. So for everybody that's joined us, thank you. I know we'll have a few other people hopping on here soon. We have Devyn Demello joining us this month of April. And Devyn was another one of our, HangTuf alum that's been through our program and, worked with some of our coaches. And she also was a graduate from Holt High School and with numerous accomplishments there. And went on to Jackson College and played for, looks like, was it 3 years total that you were at Jackson College? 2 years total?
It was 2, yeah.
Okay. And, it looks like you had an opportunity to be a utility player, play, numerous positions. And I know that's something that we also talk to our players about is just that, you may play one position here now. And it's kind of what, Jamie Lobdell says too, quite often, is that I only recruit shortstops and pitchers. And he says, I'll have my shortstops play any position on the field. I just want to find the most athletic people is what he kind of gets at. But
seriously, yeah.
Yeah. And, you had a great batting average your 2 years there and honorable mention all conference. And then your coaching experience, we've had the opportunity to kind of work with you up at DBATS, at least on one occasion, if not more, once with a team. And now you're following your dreams and you're going off. And so, who are you working with right now? If you want to kind of give everybody a kind of a summary.
Yeah, so I'm working with a minor league baseball team. They're a high A team affiliated with the Tampa Bay Rays. They're called the Bowling Green Hot Rods. So I'm in Bowling Green, Kentucky right now. So I am on Central Time. So it's 7 p.m. here. But yeah, they're a high A team. So it's kind of, this is like either the guys that aren't making it as much, or this is their first year in the league and they're just going to start working their way up.
Okay, awesome. And that's what you want to do. You want to be working at the ballpark.
Yeah, seriously. Yep. I get to walk in through the front gates every day. It's awesome.
Very cool. All right. So we're going to kind of turn things over to Devyn, and Devyn kind of talk about her journey, her softball journey, and her transition. And I know she has an outline to go through, knowing that it's just you tonight and not two players. It'll probably be a little shorter than normal, but then we'll have questions at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Scott.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, thank you.
So like Scott said, I did start out at Holt High School. I was primarily a pitcher there and I played first base a little bit and I played second base in the outfield. But once I went to college, they kind of were just like, we need a versatile player that can play everywhere. Where do you see yourself playing? I played a lot of first base, a lot of second base, transitioned to the outfield. And then my sophomore year, I ended up playing all 9 positions. So that's kind of a cool, resume thing to have, that I was able to say I played all 9 positions. Catching was my dream always, but Coach Reichert over at Holt would never let me because I was a pitcher. So I was stuck on the mound, but I did get to catch a full game, which was awesome. I'm really glad to get that. HangTuf is definitely where I played most of my years of travel ball, but I jumped around teams and went to teams where I would make an impact. As a pitcher, you're kind of in high demand because it's a specialty position. So there's not as many people that are out there. So I wanted to go where I could immediately start pitching and make an impact on the team, and followed like my core group of teammates. So right now I've kind of changed routes and went from the softball playing aspect to coaching. So now I am working in professional sports in the minor league baseball league, which is awesome. Transitioning from high school to college is going to be like our first talking point. So, in high school, you kind of have your whole schedule laid out. You have class in the morning all day, you have your lunch planned out, and then you have practice after school, or you have a game. The transportation's lined up for you. Your mom maybe did your laundry and packed your lunch for you, but in college, you're definitely accountable for yourself. So you have to make your own schedule. You have to get all your stuff done. You have to prioritize. It's not just going to be laid out for you. So that's probably the biggest thing. That was the first point I wrote down on my outline, is that you are definitely responsible for getting everything done yourself. It's a test of your independence. You've lived with your parents your whole life, and moving to college, you have your own place, you have your own bathroom, your own kitchen, maybe. So it's definitely a juggling act. So it's, practice, lifting, study tables, class, a social life. It's a lot of things, but it's all things that, you should enjoy and don't take for granted. Going off of that, you are going there as a student athlete. So a lot of people mix that up and say an athlete student, but schoolwork and being timely and getting your grades good are definitely the most important thing, because you can't be an athlete without the first half of that, which is being a good student. So eligibility is also a huge thing, because that can determine everything. I remember my freshman year, a girl failed a class in the fall, and then in the spring she was ineligible because of her GPA from last semester, and she had to sit out the whole season. So, you know, it's not just your grades in season, it's the whole year. So you can't slack off in the fall and think you'll be good for the spring, because it can mess up everything, and you can just sit on the bench and watch your teammates play while you know, maybe messed around in your math class or something. It's also important to make sure that you're getting done what you need to get done in the classroom. So meet with your advisors a lot. I know in high school, there's like, you have to take a certain class, or you have to take Spanish 2 or something. But in college, you're like, okay, this is my chance to decide what I want to study, what I want to be taking for classes. And you get to make your own schedule and figure out what works for you. Another topic that I have bolded was independence. So like I said, you know, you're doing your own laundry, you're driving yourself to practice, you're making sure your hair's done for your games and stuff. So it's definitely a juggling act, but prioritizing things is a huge, huge, huge thing that I'll say over and over again to make sure that you're getting everything done. I'm a pretty organized person to begin with, but I definitely would recommend having like a planner or an agenda, or just like a sticky note of things like, okay, I have to get this history assignment done, this English assignment done. I have study tables at this time, practice at this time, lift at this time. You know, kind of laying your day out is the easiest way to make sure everything's getting done, because your days will be busy, but you know, you get to play softball every day. So it's kind of a good trade-off. So the recruiting process is definitely a lengthy process. You know, you're advocating for yourself the whole time, because these coaches don't know you. Your high school coaches, your travel ball coaches, they can say all these good things about you, but that first step in the recruiting process is definitely the good first impression. So if you're at a travel ball tournament and you see a coach, you know, a nice firm handshake, introduce yourself, your school, your position. They want to know you, and they're gonna, you know, they meet hundreds of girls every day. So making that good first impactful first impression is a huge step in, you know, remembering your name and remembering who you are in them, and puts a good seed in their head. So playing off of that, you know, the coaches that are recruiting you are assessing you and your talents and your abilities and how you're going to represent their team, but you also have to interview them. So if you meet them and they're, you know, standoffish and not making eye contact or not giving you the time of day, you know, that might be a first indicator that you're like, hey, this is probably not going to be a good fit for me. If you're already not interested, I'm not going to waste my time. So same for like job interviews, even like you literally have to interview them, because that's where you're going to be too. You know, you're not just benefiting their program, you are there for yourself too. Same thing, if you ever are going on tours and stuff, talk to the team, you know, just say, hey, what's it like here? What's a day look like for you? Or what's coach so-and-so like? How what can we expect, you know, as an incoming freshman? What's going on? I remember on my tour at Jackson, I was asking her questions and she was probably like, oh my gosh, this girl's annoying, but I wanted to know what it was like. You know, Jackson is a really small school, so the whole school is one block. You know everybody there. And she was honest, and she was like, yeah, I mean, you know everybody here. It's a small community, but it's awesome because for the same reasons, you know everybody. And, you know, those insights that you learn help make your decision to go there, to not go there, or, you know, just can seal the deal. So just learning about what the team's like, but also what are the classes like, or how strong are they with your major, or what's campus life like, or their food options. At Jackson, I ate Subway for 2 years. So that was definitely not a deciding factor, but did I want to eat Subway for 2 years? Probably not, but you know, it worked. So another thing too is just envision yourself there. For me at Jackson, you know, that wasn't like a dream school or anything, but it made it work, and it's home now kind of. I always get to say that I'm a Jet and I can represent the Jackson College brand. So seeing myself there now, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a good fit for me. You know, that was my stepping stone into a career. Some of the people I met there, I still am in contact with, coaches, players, teammates, staff. So consider a bunch of variables, like what's it going to be like if I'm homesick and I want to drive home, or what's the housing situation like, food, because this will definitely be your home for the next 2 to 4 years, whatever you decide to do. Playing off the recruiting process a little bit. I don't know how many of you girls go to Holt, but the Holt Grand Ledge game is a huge rivalry, and that's actually the game I got recruited at. So I was really nervous going into the game as it was, but it was kind of a chance for me to show off even more. I was playing first base at Grand Ledge. Then I looked up and I saw the Jackson coach in the bleachers, and I was like, oh shoot. I was like, I got to play sweet today. So, I kind of upped my confidence, and you're there to show off, show them what you're capable of, show them what you can do. Maybe your team got spanked the game that they saw, but they're there to watch you and see how you were responding to, bad umpire calls or a loss or a strikeout or an error on the field. I played first base that game, and luckily we won the first game that he was there. But, be a chatterbox, just be exuberant, be excited for your teammates, communicate everything, because they're there to see you as a player during the good parts of the game and the bad parts. So they want to see what your grit is like. Also about the recruiting process is reach out, because, you might think that you're being annoying or sending too many emails, but these coaches, they see your name in the inbox over and over, and they're like, dang, this girl really is interested, or wow, she's got some good stats. Maybe I should talk to her. Don't cross that line where you're emailing them every hour, but just be persistent about it and say, hey, I'm really interested. Here's my travel ball schedule. Here's my school ball schedule. Include the times, the dates, the field that they should go to, because that just shows that you're interested and that you want to play for them. If you're saying, hey, I'm putting in all this effort, here's some resources where you can watch me play, here's my stats, here's a profile, a bio on me, that just shows that you're willing to take that extra step to play for them, and that you'll represent their team as a player even at this young age. So that's definitely a huge thing. I was tossed up between Jackson College, Adrian, and Elma. So Jackson's JUCO, and Elma and Adrian are D3. So, those schools, Adrian and Elma have huge rosters. Me as a 18-year-old senior in high school, they maybe aren't like looking at me as much. So just make that extra step and do something that's a little different. Maybe, I don't know what that would be, but just act interested, because you can always say no, but just don't limit yourself with your options. My last topic on recruiting is make a pro and con list. This is what ultimately helped me make my decision about schools, because you have to weigh a lot of things, the cost of the school, the scholarship, if they have your major, the size of the team, the coaches, the campus, the location of the school, all of that, because, it might seem good on paper and look good, but if you just are comparing and weighing all those options, it'll really help you narrow that down to say, okay, what's the realistic option here? Like for me at Jackson, I didn't know what I wanted to go to school for yet. So I was like, I don't want to waste $40,000 a year going to school somewhere that I don't even know what I want to study yet. So that, was a deciding factor for me, because I was able to get my gen eds out of the way, play some ball. I might say, I want to go big. I want the full college experience. I want to go D2, D3, take my gen eds there, do everything there. And so that might be a pro for you. So just taking that time to sit down and say, okay, what are my realistic options here? What do I want to see out of each school? What are the positives, the negatives? Do you want a small class size? Do you want a large class size? All of it, because that's your home. Like I said, that's where you're going to be for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So you definitely have to be diligent and say, where do I stand here? Another thing too is like team size. I've considered Adrian, they carry 40 plus girls on their roster. I knew that maybe as a freshman, sophomore, even a junior, I wasn't going to be able to get all the playing time that I wanted. So I was like, that's a huge factor for me, because I don't want to be sitting there riding the bench every game, dressed in for games and not touching the field. So it's definitely something to consider, because you might want to go somewhere and make it, especially I was a pitcher. So I was like, I want to go somewhere where I can make an impact and be competitive, but not be drowning with all these other awesome girls. So that was a huge factor for me, because Jackson, our roster size was 15 to 20 girls. So everybody was getting playing time. Everybody was there for a reason. We all wanted to play. So that was a huge thing for me. Moving on to my miscellaneous section, just a bunch of fun facts and random tidbits that I thought of when I was crafting this outline. I talked about this at my camp too that I held at DBAT, but just having confidence, that speaks for itself. You can talk the talk, but if you can't walk the walk, then you're not going to sell yourself. So, walking up to the plate when you're at the field, the dugout, in the classroom, walk with confidence because you don't know who's watching. You don't know who's around or who's there because someone's always watching, I promise. So that's just a huge factor to carry through softball and life and in the workplace because it's obvious, your body language speaks for it, your actual language, your actions, all of it. Going off of that, you really don't ever know who is watching. So if you're, at a college exposure tournament or at a camp, there could be 10 coaches on the other side of the gym or on the other side of the field. And you're like, oh, there's no way they're watching me. Yeah, they are. They absolutely are. They see things that you don't think they see. My college coach, she was always saying that she has eyes in the back of her head. And we would do something and she would know somehow. And you're like, how do you know that? She sees everything. So playing off that, recruiting, if a coach sees you, they might not have a spot for you or have a need for a catcher, slapper, or whatever your position is, but they might know a coach who does. So getting your name out there and just proving yourself and creating that reputation is huge because you really don't know who's watching because you got to be on your A game no matter what, because, there's a lot that can happen, just word of mouth, and you have a good reputation for your last name, then that'll speak for itself. Show up on time. So I don't know, Reichert ingrained this into my brain, but showing up on time does not mean at 7:00 p.m. That means 6:45 or 6:50. So 15 minutes is kind of a cardinal rule for practice, for games, workouts, lifting. Being a student athlete, your schedule's busy. So you have to make that time to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do to show that I'm committed, I'm invested, and I'm ready. Even now, I'll show up 15 minutes early to places and I'm like, why am I here so early? Like, I don't need to be here right now. But it's just kind of a thing where I'm like, I'm eager and I'm ready. So that just shows people that you're willing to put in that extra mile. So relationships are a huge part of it all too. You will become lifelong friends with your teammates and your coaches, and you won't even know it. So that first day on campus, the girl that you talk to, ask where the room is or ask if they want to go get lunch, that might be your friend for the rest of your life. So I still regularly talk to some of my teammates and some of the girls that I played against just because, you all shared that part of your life together. The assistant coach at Jackson will still text me every once in a while and reach out and ask how my family's doing. And that's just someone in your life that you want and have in your corner to just rely on, because his name's Coach Ream. He used to coach at Dansville High School. He's just a good guy. He's helping me out through my career right now. He has connections at the Lansing Lugnuts. So he might be that person I'd text and say, hey, what can you do for me? Who do you know? What personal connections can you utilize to help me? So those relationships will last longer than and be one of the biggest takeaways of your college career, because those are those that you went through everything with. You hung out at practice with them, at study tables, you might have lived with them. So your whole college career is based upon your teammates and those relationships that you have, because those are your people. Playing college sports is awesome because you get that advantage of, you kind of have built-in friends already. I went into Jackson, I knew one other girl and walked away with 20 other friends. That's just, you're all there for that common purpose and that same reason. So it's a huge, huge perk to playing college ball. Kind of going off of that, same thing, those girls that you are friends with, they all are good. They were good in high school. They maybe played for reputable travel ball teams, but you're a big pond, but you're a small fish, because maybe at your high school, you're the standout player right now. You're the ace, you're the 4-hitter, but at the college level, everyone was that. So it's definitely a humbling experience, and you kind of have to play and give it your all every game, because if you slack off one game, someone else picked up the slack in that starting position and you might be out for a week. One of my experiences that stands out to me was I was in a huge hitting slump for 3 weeks straight, I think. I don't think I got a single hit. And so I got pulled and I was the designated player. So, I was the flex player. So I played in the field and someone hit for me. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this stinks. I want to be hitting so bad. I want to be in that lineup. So it takes that extra work after practice. It takes the extra work before, talking with coaches, looking at video, because you want to be competitive and you want to be in the lineup. You don't want to be sitting, watching other people succeed and take your spot up. You got to put in that extra work. So playing off of that, some days may really suck and you might be overwhelmed. You might have 3 tests, you might have a presentation, whatever. But, this softball is kind of the break from all that. You're there for a reason and you were given the opportunity for your talent and your skills. And so it's definitely a platform where you get to show that off and say, okay, this is why I'm here. This is my goal. This is what I got to do. Because not very many people get to say that they're a college athlete. And still to this day, I kind of use it as like a bragging right, almost, just to be like, yeah, I played college softball, like no biggie there. I'm repping my college gear today because it's just something cool that you get to say that you did and we're a part of a team that competed at that higher level. As a JUCO girl, this is definitely the survival of the fittest. This level is full of the girls that maybe wanted to play still, but weren't 100% committed to playing the Division I, Division II level. But it's definitely a stepping stone because it opens up avenues for girls to play D1, 2, 3, NAI, whatever, because you get those 2 years of experience and you have all these outlets and coaches and experience because you had those extra chances to develop. So I wish I would have played after Jackson, but I didn't. But I know that some of my teammates did, and they're successful, they're happy, they're having fun, they're playing with awesome teams. So it's cool to see your teammates move on like that and continue to play and succeed onto that next level past JUCO level, So reflecting my experience, I learned a lot of skills that resonated with me just from softball, but also from being a student athlete, because like I said, it takes that extra organization. You have to have that schedule. You have to manage your time, and it takes a lot of discipline because you might wake up, if you might have an 8 a.m. class, you might have lunch at noon, practice at 3, study tables at 5, and lifting at 7. So your day's full. So you're like, okay, when am I going to do homework? Well, at night or in between classes or at study tables. It's definitely just a time for you to learn who you are, learn who you want to be as a human, as a softball player, as a student, all the things. You definitely get to learn who you are because you're kind of thrown in the deep end here. You're on your own for the first time. You're in a new place. You're learning about yourself. And it's just a chance for you to kind of hash out what you want to be, where you want to be, but you get to play softball when you're doing it. So my biggest thing is just to cherish every second of it. It's the day you finish your last game is the day you're going to say, I can't wait to play softball again. So it's definitely a great opportunity and I've loved every second of it. And I wish I could go back, but it was a great opportunity. I'm really thankful to have done it. And all the best to you guys. A couple more things I have, just broad things. Communicating. I'm sure that's like a broken record to you guys by now, but talk to your coaches, talk to your athletic trainer, your teammates, your roommates, because that'll kind of set the foundation. If you're trustworthy, if you're reliable, what are your goals? Where do you want to go after this? How's school going? Just always keep that fluid conversation rolling because you never know who might help you or who knows who or what you can do to, just get some help and let people know where you're at. Last thing I have is just that whether you guys get recruited or not, softball is something that, we all pride ourselves on. So it's a time in your life that you'll always look back on and remember. And the bonus is that you get to say you're a college athlete, and not many people get to say that. So it's definitely a pride thing and something that you'll carry with you forever. and you'll always get to say that you got to play at that next level, whether it's JUCO, NAI, Division I, wherever. It's just a huge thing, and I'm proud of it, and I like to brag about it every once in a while. So I hope you all get the chance to do that too.
Very cool. Yeah, we appreciate it, Devyn. I'm going to kind of go over a few of the things that you discussed, that, things that we talk about quite frequently.
Yeah.
As coaches, especially, with our 18U team. We talk about the importance of time management and that role of leadership. They really start now. I mean, even with your teams, leading them through warm-ups, leading them on the field, leading them, in the way that you behave and so on, the way you react to things. So that's something that we talk about quite frequently. I think it was really, really cool finding the right fit. I think that's something that's been kind of universal throughout all the Chalk Talks, is that every player said that, when they walked onto a certain campus, they felt like at home at this place versus another. So you really get out and see, numerous campuses, reach out, talk to numerous college coaches, and find the best thing for you academically. That's the biggest thing, because after softball, what are you going to fall back on? Communication. So I just had a question for you too about what was your communications like with the Jackson coach? Like when he did see you, did you reach out to him and invite him to the game, or did that start like after that point when he saw you in the Grand Ledge game?
Yeah. So actually, he's the assistant coach. He reached out to Reichard and he said, do you have any players in the area? Because he's pretty familiar with the area, coaching at Dansville and stuff. And I was the only person out of my class to play. And she was like, yeah, I have this pitcher, utility player. Here's her contact info. And that kind of started that thread of conversation where I reached out to him. I think it started via email, but I just introduced myself, told him what I was looking for, gave him my game schedule. You don't really expect them to actually make it. And then you see them there and you're like, okay, this is the real deal now. This is serious. They're interested. So yeah, it started with email at first, but by the time you get familiar with them, they'll give you their personal phone number just to create that, intimate relationship almost, where you're like, we're serious about you, that we want to stay in regular contact just to, stay in tune and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I know that, one of the other items that you mentioned was just, confidence. That goes with body language too, the way that you react to things. And like you mentioned, they're there to see you through the good and the bad. They want to see how you react. That's something that, kind of stuck with me after talking to Kim McKeenan over at MSU, and Jessica Bograkis. She kind of told us a story of a recruit that she was looking at down in Bailey Park, and it was like one of the state finals or something like that. And the pitcher was in the final inning. There was a runner on third, 2 outs, and the pitcher, I think there were 2 strikes, full count, whatever, like the dream situation. And she pitched it. The girl popped the ball up into right field, and the right fielder dropped the ball. And then the other team won the game. And she said that that girl had a great weekend of games, but she was watching her and how she reacted to that. And she said she turned around and she ran out to right field and gave her teammate a hug. And they said, we knew right then that was somebody that we wanted to have come to MSU and play for us, because of the way she reacted. She cared more about her teammate than the current situation. So I think that's a really true statement. They are there to digest both what you do well and how you react to things.
Absolutely.
Managing relationships, that's a big thing with travel ball. And yep, I would assume that's very important. And I would imagine coaches want players that are going to be good teammates in the dugout. They don't want anybody coming in with baggage. So I'm sure that's something that you guys talked about frequently. And then and lastly, the employers, from what I've heard, a lot of employers are looking for college athletes.
Yeah.
But exactly for what the things that you were talking about, that the way that they're able to manage their time and handle multiple activities, the way that they are, present themselves with confidence and so on, that's something that they want you out in the workforce later, which is a really positive. Did Jackson College talk much about, I guess, mental toughness? Was there much in regard? I mean, did you guys read like any books or anything, or the coach give you kind of, strategies for how to prepare for a game ahead of time and things like that to get your head right?
Unfortunately, no. That is kind of one of the things that I was fortunate. Reichard was really adamant on that, and Rob Dunham, the pitching guru, he came in and talked to us a lot in high school about that. So I felt like I kind of had an edge, but I also could see my teammates not being able to cope with errors and issues as well. So I don't have much experience there. The only thing that she gave us was a book called Make Your Bed. And so that was kind of just a thing like about positivity and staying positive, start your day out by completing a task, which is just as simple as making your bed so that you can start out saying, I had a good start to my day. I got something done. I was productive, but that's not the only thing I'm going to complete that day. So just moving forward throughout your day. That's definitely something though, that I think is just as important as going to lift weights though. Like you might have weights for an hour and then study tables and practice, but it's definitely kind of was diminished at Jackson, I think, and something that could have been touched on more. But, just even at practice, using that positive self-talk and saying those positive things to yourself will just prepare yourself for that if your coaches aren't. My big thing always was, pick the rock up after your air and throw it to the side, because that's gone, it's done. It's out of your mind, it's out of your visual, because there's nothing you can do about it now. So moving forward from that.
Yeah. Flush it and
flush
move
it.
on. And, yep. Start. We say that quite often. How about, did you have any routines? Like, before a game, did you like listen to music, or what kind of things did you do to get yourself ready for a game?
So I always wore my hair the same way. I would have one of my teammates braid it. So we would like make appointments. Each team member would make an appointment to go get their hair braided. So that was kind of like the first step. But I always listened to my walk-up song like 100 times before the game, just because I knew like that was what would get me in my zone, and I would feel like, kind of light and positive. Wasn't stressed. I was singing my song and dancing or whatever. My team, we also played hacky sack before every game. So just kind of another way to just clear your mind, feel fresh going into the game. You're not like tense and strung up, but definitely my routine consisted a lot of just, not really thinking about softball. I was just doing other things that were not softball related, like, whatever, tying your shoe the same way or making sure I have the perfect ball ready or something. But I just kind of was like, I'm here to have fun and I want to make this fun. I don't want to be stressed out. So just, relaxing things that'll make you feel fresh and just ready to go.
Yeah, it's important to play loose for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those are all the questions that I had from listening. Is there anyone else on the presentation that'd like to ask a question to Devyn? I know that we've had people, in these presentations from D1 to D2 to D3. This is community college type format, and I know we have a few players that are going on to play in that format as well, and it's important to kind of understand the things that are offered and the opportunities that are there. Are there any other questions in regards to any of that? I'm going to put Coach Dave on, because he's a Dansville guy himself. You have any questions there, Dave? Probably wasn't ready.
Hey, sorry. No, I have no questions.
They were spread out. They were never in dugout together. Being outside, we wouldn't have a problem.
Okay.
But
all right. Well, Devyn, we really appreciate it. Just last call here. Any other questions here at the end? I know we have a few players that are looking at multiple colleges right now and that haven't committed yet, which, we're really encouraging all the girls to, explore all their options. There's no reason, to settle for just, one location. And I know, unfortunately, sometimes coaches put pressure on kids to make a commitment, but
She's a Derry Dan fan.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the first time I think I met you too, was over
at Derry Dan.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All my girls had their HangTuf gear on, and you said,
"Oh, really?"
I played at HangTuf, and you were talking to us in the drive-thru. So, but yeah.
My manager would be like, "How do you know so many people?" I'm like, "Well, everybody that has a softball uniform that comes up in here, I have to ask them where they played and what position they played for." And she's like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, they remember you. So
right.
That's cool. All right. Well, again, I appreciate it. I knew it would be a little bit shorter than the normal ones, but you covered everything, and a lot of good information for the players. And we'll put this up on our YouTube channel, so that anybody afterwards can kind of check things out.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, have a nice.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you. And
bye, Devyn.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.